We've got a candidate here for County Commissioner Manatee, running at large. He's going to tell you a little bit about his platform. It's not entirely dissimilar to Liz's. The same thing applies, although even in frankly greater form. One thing I will say for those people that are running in Manatee County, beware, Tara Poulton. She's running, as she formerly worked for Vern Buchanan, very much an establishment candidate, will come in with huge amounts of money, will sound very plausible, and then she'll come down with a jackhammer and break up your lawn and build a bunch of apartments at the end of your street. That is the reality when you're running at large. You're running in a county there that's got nearly 500,000 people, simply not able to communicate that message out loud enough. Now, what we can all do is we can share that simple message. It's enough already. It needs to stop. It needs to slow down. There's only so much water. And once it's concreted over, it's done forever. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to candidate Ferris.
Thank you for having me here today. I appreciate it. And I didn't know I was speaking, but I don't write speeches, so it's all good. My name's Ed Ferentz. I'm running for Manatee County Commissioner, District 6 at large, so that represents the whole Manatee County. And the reason I'm doing it, I was born and raised, I'm native. The acorn didn't fall far from the tree there in Manatee County. And my family's still there, my kids, and I want the quality of life for the citizens and people of Manatee County. And I put 30 years in as utilities. I worked my way from boots up and bottom all the way up to managing 1/5 of the county before I hit my 30 years. And the last 5 years with 2020, 2022, I didn't like the commissioners what were coming in. They were brought, paid for. They didn't know what they were doing, and they didn't have the citizens' best interests in hand. And that led me, I felt like, with the Lord and sitting there watching all the bad business and some backdoor deals, and I just ate out my crawl, and I couldn't stand it. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to run for a county commissioner, and that's why I stand in front of y'all today. I want better. I want a voice for the people. I want to be able to serve the people and not special interests. I have always been a man of principle, and I won't sell out. I'm not broke. You can't buy and pay for me. And so get out August 18th, vote for me. I need it. I'm running grassroots. I'm not taking no special interest money, no developers' money. So I don't have the big pockets of some of the other ones, but I appreciate the time. I know y'all didn't come hear from me, but you come hear from some other great candidates running at a state level. So thank you.
Barron's excellent candidate. His heart's in the right place, and we've got one of my favorite. I don't know whether he wants to be called a politician, because I've been saying to all my female friends, you gotta love Bobby. He's a perfect gentleman. He's a southern gentleman, but he's also running on a platform of integrity. You got Byron Donalds with his dreams of AI centers throughout the state, 20% growth in real estate. You imagine what that journey from Sarasota to Bradenton will be like under those circumstances. Byron Donalds is not the right man for Florida governor, in my opinion. I've met some of the others. Paul Renner's a nice enough guy to kind of put me to sleep a little bit. The lieutenant governor has a good story. He's got a little bit of a temper, which, I can live with that. But if I had the ability to make it happen, I would make it happen that more people got the opportunity to hear from Bobby Williams. We're going to bring him in right now. Bobby Williams, candidate for governor.
Awesome. Thank y'all. It's the same message over and over and over from all these candidates you're hearing. Keep Florida. People are frustrated, they're aggravated, they've had enough. My message, obviously, I got 3 big sayings. Number 1 is Florida's full. I think everybody agrees with that one. Then number 2, do not New York my Florida. Then obviously number 3, enough's enough. Because we're tired, we're frustrated, we're aggravated, we've had enough. And my ultimate message across the state, really what to fix our government, fix our state, really takes two things, and which are really uncommon in this world, unfortunately, but it shouldn't be. Number one is godly character. If you got godly character, it's going to take care of your waste, your fraud, your lying, your abuse, your corruption, your money laundering, all the stuff that happens will be solved with godly character. And it's not just, I'll talk about it a little bit today, it's just not I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. I mean, all of us just drove through this beautiful landscape out through here, through oak trees and pine trees. Did one pine tree or oak tree had to tell you it was a pine tree or an oak tree? You could look at it, you could tell by the way it was formed, the leaves, the bark, every bit of it, you could tell about what that tree was. So my message across the state is Matthew 7:16. You'll know them by their fruit. Because especially we know in politics, we heard it here earlier, they're going to tell you what you, not these guys, I'm talking about how they were talking about, watch these other politicians. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, they're going to paint a pretty picture, they're going to tell you all this stuff, but at the end of the day, when they get in office, what usually happens? Opposite of everything they said, opposite of everything you want, and we got to get back to we the people. Because right now, we're in a nation, we're in the state of Florida, it's we the lobbyists and we the big corporations. We don't even have a voice. I've been traveling the state fighting against AI data centers. I watch rooms get filled up larger than this, 400 or 500 people fill a room, almost the whole city come out and watch the city commission vote against the voters, the taxpayers, for AI data centers. I'm against AI data centers for 3 reasons. More than that, but my main 3 is number 1, you hear it time and time again, we don't have the water. Y'all know that, we've seen that. You're in a water restriction. It was funny, I just got a code enforcement letter this morning in the mail for watering my lawn. Whatever. Number 2, they're taking, right now, we're so over full, Florida's so full right now, they're taking our sanitation water, treating it, and pumping it in your lower aquifer, pumping it in your rivers and telling you it's okay to drink. At what point are we Aaron Brockovich? We're already there now. You see sickness, disease, our fisheries are dying, all this stuff is happening, and they're telling you it's okay. What I really want to do is take this water they're treating, bottle it by the pallet, and take it up to Tallahassee and D.C. and tell them, here you go. You're telling me it's okay, so show me it's okay. For the next 6 months, your whole family drinks this water and this water only. See how that works out. It's the fruit of it. But we don't. Our fisheries are dying, our landscape are dying, everything's dying, we don't have the water. I mean, all this stuff is happening, the spraying is happening, all this stuff is happening. And data centers, just what they're going to do is they're say, oh, we're a loop system. But any guys or girls, if you're a mechanic, you know, somewhere along the way, you got to either change the oil, you got to change the freon. You got heat, you just don't put water in it. You're putting chemicals in it, and them chemicals sooner or later get dropped in our aquifer, dropped in our rivers. We see it right now with Mosaic. I mean, I'm not going to steal Matt's thunder because he'll talk for a couple hours. Be loud. Treat him while I told him I didn't tell him this. So let me go first. But I mean, there's so much to say. Really, there is. But you see it Mosaic, you see it with fisheries. I fished Sarasota, Boca Grande, Gasparilla for many years, and they say red tide is this and that. Red tide is because y'all keep polluting our water. So I mean, it's the fruit of it. We see that, we're losing that big. But the third reason is, the biggest one is, they're telling us, when I say do not New York by Florida, there's so much buried to that, so much of that. But what they're trying to do as a nation and a state is monopolize all businesses. Big corporations come in here, they're buying up the mom and pops. Obviously, y'all see it with Backhawk. Backhawk was a huge furniture store. These big conglomerates bought them, consolidated them all, bankrupted them, ran them out of business. What do we have now? You know what I'm saying? They continue to do that. And with AI, they keep telling us the future is AI. Well, to me, you can't tell me that's my future, number 1. Number 2, but if it's putting me and you out of jobs, why should we support that? That's right. If you want an AI data center, that's fine. Put it up north somewhere in Michigan. How about downtown Michigan? It'd be a great place for your data center. Y'all have already destroyed it. Y'all have already got all the buildings back. Put it there. If you need water, pump it out of your Lake Michigan, but you probably already destroyed it. Keep it up there. But Florida's full of AI data centers. You know, people are tired, they're frustrated, you know. So, and along that, I'm for no property tax for many reasons. Number 1 is you got widows, you got unaffordability right now in the state of Florida, and now your most valuable asset is your house. As generational wealth comes from house and real estate, And you get into a situation nowadays where they'll take that away from you. You don't pay your tax within 3 years, it's gone. How is that right? How is that fair? But the biggest issue and the biggest problem with that is this. We see blazing glory right now running across the state, Doge, 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 Doge. What's happening?
Nothing.
Political gain. Nothing happened, nothing never will happen. We see corruption and fraud right now across the nation. Has voter fraud changed? 2020 election, I agree, was stolen. I believe there's many of them stolen. It wasn't just 2020. 2020 is the biggest one in our face. But I believe all these elections were pretty much stolen. Has it changed? There's no accountability. So to me, on property tax, you take money out of these county commissioners' hands, city commissioners' hands, where they can't spend it no more, then we'll get back where we need to be. That's the biggest reason. Accountability. Voter fraud to me needs to be treason on our country. 20 years minimum. It's the only way you're going to stop this nonsense. We got to have somebody who's going to fight for we the people. Because instead of we the lobbies and we the big corporations. Because that's where we're at. Because everybody says, you talk about it, I'm not one of the guys that bash and that, but we talk about it. Byron Donalds raised $80 million. That should scare the heck out of you. That's showing you these seats are being bought in and not voted in. They're pushing agenda. They don't want to debate right now. Why do they want to debate? I've had a few conversations with people, but I'll tell you, the reason why Byron doesn't want to debate is this right here, and it's fact, it's fruit. 2 months ago, we were in Brooksville on stage together. Me, Byron Donalds, Jay Collins, and Paul Renner. All 4 of us had 15 minutes apiece to speak. And I've been in the room at Mar-a-Lago and watched Trump walk in the room. We were all told to sit down 3 times, sit down, sit down. Nobody sat down. As soon as he walked in the room, the crowd went crazy. They ran with their phones. That's what somebody who stands out runs on. I watched every one of us candidates maybe get a 5 out of 10 applause. Nobody was a front runner. Nobody was what you're being told is a front runner. That didn't happen. Everybody got about a 5 out of 10, the whole deal. But what I did, obviously, I got 3 sayings. Florida's full. Most people love Florida's full. And dude, I'm my Florida, the crowd goes crazy on that. That was really the only thing that stood out. But what stood out after the fact, when I walked out on stage, we went to them tables and people come up to me and said, we'd either never heard of you, or we heard of you, never seen you speak, and they're like, man, you're our candidate. That's the reason why he don't want to debate. That's the reason why every one of these candidates, I talked to them all. Fishback called me yesterday. I talked to Renner 2 days ago. Collins pulled me in a room a couple months ago. We talked. They all know me. They all know my campaign. They all love my campaign. They talk about it, but they won't talk about it because they're scared. They don't want to give me the attention. They don't want to give me anything because they know once the people hear that there's somebody out there that's actually fighting for we the people, they get scared. And what proves that to me, I'm not here to tell you that. I'm here to say, I was born and raised, I'm a 3rd generation Polk County Winter Haven boy. Raised here my whole life, swam in the rivers, swam in the creeks, swam in the canals. We have a chain of lakes here in Winter Haven, Polk County, Florida. Swam in it, grew up in the lake, hunted, fished, all that stuff. I love that. But for me, I was never raised in church. My grandparents were very alcoholic, abusive. My mother was actually pregnant at 13, had my brother at 14. Pregnant with me at 16, had me at 17. My dad was making $2.38 an hour when I was born. Had nothing. I was raised the heathen. Drank beer, chased women, done all that stupid stuff a lot of us do. We know that. I never went to church, was never invited to church. Many times I told I was needed God and need to go to church. But what does that mean? Right? We don't know. I mean, what does that mean? Because what happens is, I say this a lot of times, the church world is no different than the political world. They'll sit in a room, they'll talk about the issues and the problems, and they'll even raise money. But they actually go and do nothing with it, and do the wrong thing with it. So at 25, I started a business. By the time I was 30, got very successful. At 25, I got married. I've been married 23, 24 years now. A year later, had a little girl. She turned 23 this month. And I was chasing the American dream, which is still, it depends on the American dream you're pursuing. Because really, the American dream is not really a dream without God. You can accomplish it, you can do it, but without Jesus, you're empty and void. So by the time I was 30, my business was doing 7 figures. I was doing very well. Had a big house, all the things, you going fishing, had a condo down in Boca Grande, flats boat, bay boats, all that stuff. Thought I was living the dream, but I was empty and void. My marriage wasn't going very good, all this stuff. Well, at 32, I had an encounter with Jesus. And I did what every person does. When I had an encounter on a hunt trip. I come back on a hunt trip, started going to church. The next 4 years going to church, I learned what not to do. Church, don't do nothing. They talk about a message, I talk about this, we sit in a room, check a box, and go home. So I wasn't happy with it, because I knew what Jesus did with me. I was a broken boy. At 5 years old, I found my dad's porn tapes. At 10, I had something inappropriately touch me the wrong way. It jacks you up in the head, spiritually, all this stuff. And I knew what it was like to be broken, but I also knew what it was like to be whole. And I watched these people on drugs and addictions. I started drinking at 15. I knew what it was like, that hope you're looking for. And I'm like, man, they need to hear this message. So I started, in 2016, I started a ministry called the Freedom Tour. I started going to the lost, the broken, the projects, the worst, the hoods. Started seeing life change, encountered all this stuff great happening. 2018, the Lord told me to start a church. I argued with him about 2 weeks, but for some reason he always wins. Because he knows better. And he made sense. He said, my people are perishing for lack of knowledge. The church is not doing what it's supposed to do. I need you to go be that example. So I did. So 2018, I started a church in a city called, municipality in Winter Haven called Elvies. It was the worst of the worst. It was nothing. Every morning we'd come in, we'd find 10 to 20 needles in a parking lot every morning. Clean them up. Drug addiction. Actually, when they handed me the keys to church, they pointed next door to the dope house. And you've seen them, 18 to 20 to 40 a day going in and out. When they handed me the keys, they looked at me and said, that's the problem. But immediately the Lord spoke to me and said, no, that's a solution. Within 6 months, the dope man was in church. Within 6 months, the dope man was bringing one by one into the church. Today, we have a 0 crime rate in that municipality, which was the one of the worst in Polk County. One man making a difference. So when I get asked a lot of times, what makes you different than these guys and these other guys, I'm going to tell you 2 things. Number one is 2020. 2020 hits, it wasn't a stolen election only, but obviously, what's that? COVID, right? So while these other guys were social distance, masking, hiding, all that stuff, instead I said, you know what? I'm going to go out here and help people. Opening day of COVID, we went out in the parking lot of our church. We didn't shut down, didn't mask, didn't do none of it. We started feeding 1,500 people a day. People were losing jobs, they were getting laid off, the grocery stores didn't have any food, all this stuff. And on top of that, you had hurricane after hurricane during the season. We were steady doing this. Since 2020 to now, I've been blessed to move over 100 million pounds of product. If you had to buy that 350 million gift in kind to the people. We work with schools. I work with the law enforcement. Everything they're telling us, when I become governor, I'll do this. When I become governor, I'll do this. What are you doing now? I'm working with schools. We watch schools go from 40% attendance to 94% attendance. We created a reward program to where every month they get a pizza party, they get an ice cream party, we get characters there like Transformer, Incredible Hulk, all these guys show up, and it entices these kids to want to go to school. So much that I met with the principal, the kids were coming in, making their parents feel guilty. Please let me come to the pool party. Please let me come to the pizza party. My mom slept in. It's not my fault, is what she was hearing. But we made that difference. We made an impact. And the second thing is, what sets me apart from these guys, I watched my business in my 30s. I was making 7 figures gross in my business, making 6 figures personally. But when God touched my life and I seen I could change community and change life, better our community, better Florida, I started letting my business go backwards. Last year I made less than $300,000. I only paid myself $35,000 out of that business. Why? It wasn't important. It wasn't because of successful business. Because now my ministry, we average £1 million a month. I just transferred what God wanted me to do. It's not important. So when people say, oh, he's just in it for the money. Oh, he's in it for this. No, I'm in it for the people. The reason why y'all stand in this room today, y'all don't have a voice. Y'all can fill Tallahassee. I have city commissioners, county commissioners. Every meeting I go to, a city commissioner, a county commissioner, even a mayor will come up to me, or even school superintendents will come up to me and we need you. We go to Tallahassee, they don't listen. We schedule appointments with Tallahassee, they don't listen. Because the answer is not what they tell you. You've been told your whole life you win the ballot box. Have you won the ballot box? No. You've been told to vote red. Has that worked out for you? What people don't know this is the situation we are in right now today has become from your governor and your Republican Party. We're unaffordable right now. Every message, every candidate, which is funny, 3 of the candidates they've been part of that system. What have they changed since they've been there? One little thing with abortion. And the problem is, I tell people, abortion really ain't the problem. I know we talk about abortion, but that's how the enemy works. The problem is sexual immorality. We got to get God back in schools and God back in government. We got to get our moral compass as a nation, as a state back in there, to where these kids ain't running around to even get pregnant to get aborted. You know what I'm saying? It's about being that example, being the leader. But these guys are in office now, are not talking about your issue or problem. Your governor appoints your utility commission. Your TICO, your FPLs, all of them donate hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to your candidates. Every time they go for a rate increase, you know how many times they get told no? I looked it up. I'm Central Florida, TICO. 23, 24, they made $300 million. Hurricane Milton come through. Oh, we need to raise taxes. We need to raise money. We need to increase. 24, 25, they made $400 million. $100 million off me and you, the taxpayer. Why? Greed. Governor didn't say, hey, you know what? Y'all guys are doing the people wrong. Y'all need to pull, he can take the people out of office. He can take county commissioners out of office. He can pull city commissioners out of office. He can pull mayors out of office. And he can pull sheriffs out of office. That's what we have as the government. Are we seeing that? Insurance. They talk about all these insurance companies getting insurance. The governor himself appoints insurance commissioners. When have they been replaced? When do we have a voice for we the people? I know a lot of y'all with Matt, this kind of stuff, y'all are tired of the spraying. Your FWC board are appointed by the governor. We're all complaining about the spraying, our fisheries dying off. Does anything happen? It's coming from your governor. A lot of this stuff happens with your governor, and these guys ain't talking about when talking about affordability. Our lower education system, K through 12, is horrible. It's just testing. A lot of these kids don't know how to read or write. These schools are getting A's, A plus schools because they're passing tests just by testing them and getting good test grades. And these kids, I'm a straight shooter, are dumber than ever. We're lost a whole generation because of the school system. They're not talking about it. They're talking about vouchers. And I understand vouchers because you want your kid to go to a Christian school, get a good upbringing, good teaching, and our public school has failed us. But we have to fix our education system. Part of property tax, funny, is these people will go, county commissioners go, well, if you take my property tax, we can't support schools. Well, you ain't supporting them now, number one. And my next question is, I thought the lottery money was supposed to fix that. So they hoodwinked us and getting a lottery system that was going to pay for it. On top of that, charging you more property tax is going to pay for it. And on top of that, there's not enough money in the education system now. Where's all the money going? What are we doing with all this money? Then the second fear things they're going to put on you is if we don't do property tax, we're not going to support law enforcement. Well, the problem with that is people don't understand this. The county commissioner, city commissioners have zero influence in the schools or your sheriff's department. I'm from Polk County. Y'all know all Grady Judd, right? I talked with Grady one day. We've had many conversations. We do a lot of turkey drives, food drives with them guys who actually work with his officers, go into communities and build relationships with his officers. And I was asking one day, why would you run for governor? Because actually we're feeding about 1,500 people a day. And everybody, about 6 or 10 people go, Grady for governor. He's like, just let me be your sheriff. And I'm like, why would you run for governor? He says, because nobody's my boss but me. He says, all I do is I submit a budget to the county commissioners okay it. Once that's done, I answer nobody. I am the boss. The governor answers to a lot of people. He said, I don't want to deal with it. Don't want to do it. But the county has zero influence now. So why does it matter if that money comes from a state level or a county level? How about we put property tax and let the state pay for it? And your own governor said this about 2 weeks ago about property tax. He says, we got so much money coming in that we have a rainy day fund, we have a slush fund, and my state legislator now is trying to get us to create another slush fund. Then if you look at his budget, they're allowing developers to destroy Florida. Your red Republican Party has allowed developers to destroy Florida. All your citrus groves are now being concreted over. Yep. This year and last year both, 187 million this year, I think it's 187 million last year, went into greening citrus research. I know Matt's probably going to say it too. If we ever do get the cure in 5 to 10 years, at 187 million per year, where are you going to put it? We're full. I thought about this the other day. My whole life, we say this every summer, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, right? And I used to go, no, it was just hot as it was last year, it's always this hot. But I got thinking about Dave, yes, we were in an arcade doing the food drive on top of asphalt and concrete. I'm like, you know what? It is getting hotter. Because all the heat coming off concrete, all the heat coming off asphalt, we got so much concrete and no greenery, no nothing, no shade, no nothing. So I'm like, finally, I quit arguing with people. I thought about it, yeah, we are getting hotter. Because we're allowing these developers and all this destroyed Florida. And enough's enough. So thank y'all, appreciate y'all for coming. Thank y'all for coming out here on Saturday. I will do a couple of questions real quick, and then we'll allow Matt to get the floor. Anybody got questions? I usually try to answer when I do my spills, that way I don't get.
Come on, somebody must have a question. There you go.
I am very much interested in the tiny homes
Yes.
initiative or whichever.
Yeah, so a lot of times, you know, it's funny because there's two things that people try to hit me on, which is they lie and twist it. I'm against illegal immigration, but what I said is got to be a better way to fix it. Then in my thing, on my post, I put affordable housing. I'm not affordable housing in the projects and that, but I'm making houses affordable. So I had to change that. But the issue we have in our country is homelessness. What do we do with it, right? We keep pushing woods, and it can't go there, then you got county officials. We're going to have that, you know, in reality, because of sin in this world, drug addiction, this, you're going to have that. So one of my ideas was every county go somewhere, create a KOA campground. Make it nice. All the facilities are there, and I want to get it where the taxpayer ain't always paying for it. So my goal will be to create that, then hand that over to nonprofit faith-based ministries who do the right thing and allow these people to have somewhere to go. It'll keep your people from sleeping in a parking lot of Walmarts. It'll keep your people from sleeping on the side of the roads. It'll keep you from all the stuff you're seeing now and create that.
How would you fund it?
Well, we first funded through the states, but then there's enough nonprofits that'll help. There's enough private equities that'll help. It's just, you got to start. Somebody's got to put the foundation in there and show success in that. Once they see that, they'll get behind it. You know what I'm saying? There's enough private things to do that.
One more question, because then we got Matt Taylor. Man in the corner.
I'll get you.
Bobby, there's a super fruit down in South Florida. Have you heard about it?
Which one? The angel fruit or?
I'll spell it. ACHA is like the nickname of it.
No, sir.
But I know you mentioned about the money going into citrus.
Right.
We all know Florida's been known for citrus.
Well, you know, I'm a supporter of agriculture. If we can't do citrus groves, let's get our ranchers. I know I talked to some farmers down in Arcadia. You know, they're turning some of their citrus groves into pastures, cow pastures, raising their cows on it. So we cannot be not only foreign influence, but also foreign dependent on anything. We need to be sustainability as Florida to create things, create fruits, create all this stuff to where we can take care of ourselves and help
Like
them.
okra.
Yeah, over whatever. Oh, you were
One last question,
Yeah, right.
Mr.
Go
Cutler.
ahead.
Go ahead. I'm going to put my hat on. So
Just real quick on the homelessness idea that you have, that's actually been a proven model. I've followed that in other states. It actually works. It makes a lot of sense. My quick question was with the Sunshine Showdown, it's like his tongue twister.
Right.
How did that come about? Like with them allowing you, like, did they invite you in, or like? It feels like they're playing games with it. I guess you can't even. debate
Well,
it.
yeah, so from my race from day one to now has been a God deal. For me standing here in front of you right now is a God deal. I'll say two things. Number one, to every candidate, there is a level playing field right now, obviously called social media. You know, you don't have to have the big money, you don't have that, the landscape's changing differently. But it's been a God deal. So I was in Escambia County, I think, in March, and I walked in. Now, most of the GOPs won't let me in any of them. I've had to beg, not beg, but ask, and out of 67 counties, I think we might have been in a 7. And the 7 I've been in are just rebels against the GOP. You have some that are fighting against it, that kind of stuff. So we were in Escambia County, and Evan Powers was there, and I walk in. Now, I don't know who he is. I'm nice to everybody. You know, it don't matter. Jesus had a conversation with the devil, right? In Matthew chapter 4. He even allowed him to take him to the pinnacle, right? So, whatever. So I walk up to him, shake his hand. Hey, Bobby Williams. It's pretty cool. He goes, hey, I even know who you are. So, it's actually Byron just called me today, and we were talking about how you're getting around everywhere. So I'm like, okay. So actually, then I was getting this, and I went to Mar-a-Lago. In Mar-a-Lago, I walk in. I feel like I'm a nobody or nothing. I'm around that. So I'm a very humble guy. So I walk in Mar-a-Lago, and Blazing Goy's there. So I walk up to him. Hey, Bobby, I know who you are. I follow all your TikToks and Reels. I'm like, okay. So then every one of them, Jay Collins, every one of them know me, that kind of stuff. So about 3 weeks ago, I was in Taylor County, Perry for Lincoln dinner. It was me, Paul Renner, and Evan Powers were the main speakers. And after the meeting, Evan Powers come up to me and he said, hey man, I see you're getting everywhere, all this kind of stuff. So I looked at him and said, does that mean I get invited to the Sunshine Showdown?
There you go.
Put him on the spot. And he said yes. So I sent an email, didn't get nothing, did nothing, 2 weeks went by, and they put me in there.
I'll see you there.
So I'm a little different. So I'm a doer and a fixer, but also I'm a listener and watcher. Trump's a great president, but if he keep his mouth shut, he can do a lot of great things. So I kind of sit here and just keep my mouth shut and just because for me, I say this, and if mainstream media would pick me up, I would easily be the front runner. I feel like I'm a front runner now, but if mainstream, it would blow it out of the park. That's the reason why they don't want to talk about me. They've done it. It's a God deal that I got invited. Got 15 minutes there. Some other things coming available. There's supposed to be some forums and debates coming. So obviously outside of the RPOF, we'll see how that works, but don't put that out there. So I'm keeping it quiet until after the RPOF. So once that comes through, because that's going to help me get that media. My goal is I get that media attention. Y'all can turn those cameras off.
Yeah, right.
I don't agree with a lot of it. I don't think, but I'm here to win governor for we the people. I've got to fight. The Bible says be wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove. So I'm being wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove. And just love your neighbor at that. So we got to get back to we the people. So thank y'all, appreciate y'all.
Bobby Williams. Where that hat is, but notwithstanding that, am I wrong? Isn't he the most remarkable, reasonable, honest, genuine guy that you've ever seen standing in front of you? When you go home, put your words up on social media. Don't be scared. You know, well, I'm for Donalds, I'm for Renner. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Bobby Williams is the real deal. And if there's any justice in the world, he's going to have a real shot in the primary. So thanks again to Bobby. Now we're going to bring out Matt. Can you hear us? Matt the Welder. Matt Taylor. Matt, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys for coming out there. You guys could have been anywhere else today besides listening to a bunch of candidates talk. It means a lot that you would come out this way. I want to thank Martin for opening up his house to us. The Republican Party of Florida, they dislike me because I run off a simple principle of how can you be America first, Florida first, Sarasota first, if you can't call out corruption in your own party. By definition, your party first.
That's right.
And I'm Florida only. and that's what they dislike so much is when we came to the realization that what's best for your party might not be what's best for Florida, and we need to start going with what's best for our Florida, that's when our state is going to start getting a whole lot better. And I thank you guys for everybody coming out. The executive committees don't like to let me come out and speak, and in some cases like today, folks have even opened up their homes to let us come in and speak, and that means way more than any endorsement from any career bureaucrat, is that this could even happen, that somebody would let us in the home this nice to have an event to speak or what have you. I think I'm scheduled to speak at a Jiffy Lube next week. Wherever the speaking opportunity is, I take it. The Republican Party of Florida is not immune from corruption, and as soon as we learn that and we start to push back against it and say, listen, we need to get our state in order first. A check from a developer for $1 million might be great for the party, but it's not great for Florida. It's not great for the overdevelopment. It's not great for our environment. Right now, they won't even let us hold debates in the Republican Party of Florida. For the governor candidates, for the statewide positions, they're not letting the grassroots candidates speak their mind, and it's a disservice to voters. It's not allowing the voters of Florida to hear what we are about, what the opposing views of what Florida could be. You're being forced on data centers, overdevelopment, and we're being told this is normal, and it's not. And come November, they're going to want all of us grassroots folk to fall in line and get out there and hand out flyers for the establishment. And I hope we say no. I hope we stand up to them. If you don't want to have a debate, if you don't want to let grassroots candidates have a voice, well then we're not not going to go ahead and fall in line just blindly. We are going to make sure our voice is heard one way or the other. And the establishment right now, they are nervous. They're nervous because we have woken up and we realize, number one, we have an agriculture commissioner. Nobody knew what the agriculture commissioner did. Nobody knew who he was. So if you don't know who he is and what he did, how do you know if he's doing a good job or not?
That's right.
When I came along and I said, hey, the ag commissioner can solve a lot of our problems in the state of Florida, people said I was crazy. But now those same folks that said I was crazy, they're calling me everything but a welder. They passed laws against me to try to keep me off the ballot. You don't do this for a guy that's crazy. You do this for a guy that you go, oh man, he's figured out how we operate, and he knows that if he gets that position, he can bring some good change for the people of Florida. And that's what they're nervous about. They allowed us back on the ballot. It was because of folks like you that bought t-shirts, that donated to our campaign. I was able to hire an attorney. We pushed back with an attorney, and as soon as we hired an attorney, they came out and they said, oh, there's a directive now, those candidates, I think it's just candidate, singular, that were affected by this name change debacle, they can now run, but under their previous legal name, which is no longer my legal name. So in August, you have to vote for Matthew Taylor, and when I win, Matt the Welder will take office. I don't think this has happened anywhere else in the United States or the world. It's like a Seinfeld episode. It's the most Florida man election that could have ever happened. I mean, you have anything a Florida man could have done to get a law made about him. The name is where you drew the line. Like, that's where you were like, nope, we can't have Matt the Welder on the ballot. And that's all it was about, was Matt the Welder being on the ballot. They're going to let a guy have a nickname of Batman. Batman's going to be on your ballot if you're in Tampa for Congressional District 16. So it was literally just about the name. They didn't want that name recognition, but at least we're on the ballot. And since they have closed qualifying, I can finally say this. I'll be the only Matt in the race. That's how easy it is. It's only But when you're dealing with folks that will go for as far as changing laws to prohibit your name, you have to kind of hold off on that kind of information, because if I would have said that earlier, they might have put a Matt in the race just to try to split the vote. But right now, I'm the only Matt in the race. I'm the only Republican in the race. And out of all of the candidates right now, there's not a lot of people standing up and saying, let's debate. Let's get out there. If you think your candidate's better, let's get out there and just have a good old-fashioned debate like we should do. Right now, the party's doing everything they can to put their finger on the scales to try to stop folks from hearing us, our grassroots candidates. As Ag Commissioner, I want to see Florida prosper in ways, our agriculture community, in ways that they tell us it can't be done. And when they say it can't be done, we can point to the name change and go, you can literally do anything, you're policymakers. You did the name change thing, the jig is up, we know you can do it. They tried to pass a legislation this year to allow cattle to run on our conservation land. And they said that was needed because the conservation, there's not a lot of land for cattle to run anymore. So we got to get our herd numbers up, and we got to use our conservation land. Simultaneously, we passed a package in the special session about 2 weeks ago as it gave $196 million to the citrus industry to combat citrus greening and storm damage. While all of this is happening in our citrus industry, we've lost 90% of our groves. Farmers are having to sell off their groves for houses because they don't have any money in. Why not kill two birds with one stone and say, listen, some of that $196 million that we've already appropriated to the citrus industry, make a law or make a program called Citrus to Cattle, Citrus to Timber, and help transition those citrus groves to another crop to make sure those citrus farmers are able to bring in money. Because if we develop all of our citrus groves and we put houses on them and we come out with a cure for citrus greening, we still won't be able to bring back the citrus industry in the state of Florida. Citrus needs dry, sandy soil in order to grow. They will not grow in swampland or wetland. If water sits on their roots for more than about 24 or 48 hours, they drown. They basically die. So it has to have that dry, sandy soil. And more politicians need to be talking about citrus greening, not just in the state of Florida, but up in DC too, because citrus greening, which has wiped out 90% of our groves, they found it in California. They found the insect and the bacteria, and anytime they find the insect, they take out all of the oak trees in citrus trees, in a 5-mile radius. It is becoming a national problem, and nobody in DC seems to care. It's no longer a
United States, California, Florida thing. They found the citrus, Asian citrus psyllid and the greening in Brazil. And in Brazil, they figured out it's resistant to pesticide. You can go out there and spray all the pesticide you want and it grows. That bug is still going to reproduce. They tried 46 treatments a year in Brazil only to see the numbers of the bug start to go up. Right now, the New World screwworm has entered the United States. It went from Texas, now it's in New Mexico, and it's slowly starting to head our way. We should have all of our agriculture inspection stations up and running. I've heard from many people that have come through with some horses that they're not checking Coggins paperwork, that they're not checking health paperwork on their livestock that they're bringing in. And if we bring in the New World screwworm to Florida, it doesn't just affect our agriculture industry, it affects all warm-blooded animals with the rare occasion of infecting humans too. So your pets, if you have a homeless person that's got a scratch on outside and it gets in there, it could get into the homeless folks. So there's a very need to make sure that insect doesn't come into the state of Florida. And our primary defense against it is those agriculture inspection stations, which right now are waving people through. Some of them are closed. If we were going to make sure we make that the screwworm doesn't do to the livestock industry what it has done to citrus greening, or what citrus greening has done in the citrus industry, we should have a co-op of our law enforcement networks. That way FHP or the local cops, they can work and screen all of the other stuff that's not warm-blooded animals, and then ag law enforcement guys can concentrate on our warm-blooded animals, give more time to check those to make sure that we're not importing the New World screwworm in the state of Florida. There is nobody that seems to be looking out for Floridians when it comes to the Department of Agriculture. It is a huge position. It's very important. It's a cabinet position. It votes on clemency, votes on conservation land. They spent $83 million on a 4-acre sandbar in Destin of our tax dollars. It offered no conservation value. You could have come down this way and purchased probably 1,200 acres or more with that $83 million. We don't have a conservation funding problem, we have a spending problem. We are rewarding donors that donate to the Republican Party of Florida. The fellow that owned that 4-acre sandbar, his name was Robert Guidry. Robert Guidry is a prominent GOP donor. He had pled guilty to a felony in Louisiana for bribing the Louisiana governor, and we gave him $83 million of our tax dollars. We should have used that to come down this way. Lakewood Ranch is expanding every day. We're losing more and more of our land for scrub jays, gopher tortoises, sandhill cranes. We could have put that money to use in so many better ways. When it comes to clemencies, you have about 900 applications a year, and they only vote on 4 clemencies a year. That's not fair to the folks that have gone through, they've been rehabilitated, they haven't committed a crime in, say, a decade or more, and they're just trying to get some of their rights back. Not that we're trying to get rights back to violent offenders or pedophiles or anything like that, but there's some folks that made mistakes when they were young. We were all young and dumb, and I've worked with some of these guys, and these guys, one of them, he was a die-hard Trump supporter, and the other folks said, "Why are you a die-hard Trump supporter?" He says, "If it wasn't for Trump, I would still be in prison." So we need to have the number of clemency votes go up from 4 a year, and when you have 900 applications, it's not right to the folks that have gone through everything that they needed, got rehabilitated in society, and still have that hanging over their head. I think that's what Merle Haggard sung about in his songs. He was always a Rolling Stone. I want to see Florida lead the nation for regional slaughterhouses. Right now, our herd numbers in the United States are the lowest they've been since the 1950s, about 70 years. So if we can get the herd numbers up by citrus to cattle, putting them cattle on citrus groves, bring in regional slaughterhouses to where the consumer has more options, it would lower the price of beef. They're trying to bring in Argentinian beef to lower the price of beef at the supermarket. What they're going to do is run the American rancher out of business, develop that agriculture land. Once the American rancher's out of business, they're going to jack the price of beef right back up, because there's only 4 companies that slaughter 85% of the beef in the United States. If we open up more regional slaughterhouses, we give consumers more options. Opening up free markets, consumers have more options, the price will come down naturally. Bringing in beef from a foreign land, you're going to open yourself to more parasites, more diseases, and more problems than if we just help out our ranchers here in the state of Florida and the United States. I thought somebody was behind me there for a minute. I said, they snuck in there trying to take me out. Get a little nervous when you're down to cause interruption. I got a remote start on my phone.
Let me catch my breath on that. That's Stan, I don't know if he put that there. But the same thing goes with our farmers markets. The state of Florida has 12 farmers markets that the state owns. Some of them are closed most of the year. You have small farmers that maybe have hydroponics, that maybe have less than 100 acres, that don't have areas to sell their vegetables to the consumers. You have Cisco buying out Restaurant Depot, and it's getting to be a bigger and bigger monopoly. Let's open up our free markets, let's help out our farmers, let's help out the folks in the restaurant and the consumers, and we will make sure our farmers benefit from that 100%, because we need to send folks to Tallahassee that understand what's most important. Farmers buy everything at retail and sell everything at wholesale. They need all the help that they can get. I can think of no other profession where that happens. The Department of Agriculture, it regulates pesticides in the state of Florida. And this is why they really hate me, because everybody is upset with the FWC spraying our waterways with herbicides that they don't agree with. There's a small group of people that have called me everything but a welder on the internet that support the spray. They're pro-spray, and they will defend it to the day they die, but everybody else seems to be against it. And the craziest thing about this is we are spraying these invasive weeds. And these invasive weeds, they're filling a niche. All the development, agriculture, whatever you want to blame the nutrient pollution in our waterway for, those weeds are really good at sucking up nutrient pollution. They're really good at making sure we don't have algae blooms. They're like a filter. When you spray them with herbicide, it's like taking your pool filter and cleaning it in the pool, putting it back in and expecting different results. Some of these weeds, like water lettuce, they're saying it's an invasive, but now they're starting to have a talk back and forth saying the water lettuce might actually be a native plant to Florida. They found the seeds in the fossil records about 12,000 years ago. Barnum wrote about it in the 1700s that he saw water lettuce here, and even with emerging that water lettuce might not be an invasive plant, they said, well, we're still going to spray it even if it becomes native or not because it's noxious. So the water lettuce, the crazy thing about it, they use that in the Indian River Lagoon before they dump the stormwater. They use it to filter the stormwater for pollutants, and then they dump the clean water from it into our stormwater. When the manatees were starving, we had to use our state tax dollars to purchase romaine lettuce. Manatees eat water lettuce. You could have plucked water lettuce and fed them water lettuce and killed two birds once again with one stone. We have career politicians, bureaucrats, whatever you want to call them. I'm not sure how they remember to breathe sometimes with some of these, what they're proposing. It seems like they go up to him and say, can you fog a mirror? Great, we need you to run for this seat here. You won't have anybody against you, and that's how they get reelected over and over again. They've never had to work a real job in their life. They've never had to fix anything, and at the end of the day, they've never had to show what they've done, how productive they've been, because there is no way to rate them on their productivity. Where you have blue-collar workers that have to actually come up with real-world fixes, whether you're working on tractors or you're a plumber or what have you. The world, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, we can agree on one thing. We need less career politicians. If you've been in office for 20 years and you're still blaming the other side, then you need to get out of office. You are the problem. When you tell folks to get out there and vote in the primary, don't argue what side to vote for or who to vote for. Don't argue about me or any other politician. Look, there's better ways to ruin family dinners. Alcohol works pretty good. Next morning, nobody remembers what you're mad about. Just want Advil and a hangover helper down at McDonald's. Get them out there, make sure they're registered to vote. At the end of the day, the world can agree that we need less Nancy Pelosi's, less Chuck Schumer's, less Mitch McConnell's, and less Wilton Simpson's. Some folks will say we need a blue wave or a red wave. The truth is we need a new wave to flush Tallahassee. We need new folks that don't understand how lobbyists works, that don't understand how to make backdoor deals, and that are honest and scared to go to jail. The folks in office right now are not scared to go to jail, and they understand the difference between ethical and illegal, and they know it to a fine line. I would like to amend our broken greenbelt laws. We're in the land of Pat Neal, and I don't know if there's a whole lot of Pat Neal fans in here. I figured there wouldn't be. So Pat Neal, when he buys a piece of property for millions of dollars and he declares greenbelt on it, puts some cattle under there under the rent-a-cow loophole, he is getting a tax break that is meant for our farmers to help them keep their property. Developers are using it, special interests like Florida Power and Light, Mosaic, everybody but our farmers. When you talk to folks that own less than 100 acres and they have cattle or they have like a legitimate agriculture operation, and you say, hey, why don't you get Greenbelt? They don't know how to navigate the system because it's so confusing. You gotta have X amount of hoofs per acre, or you gotta have so many bees per acre. Many of them don't know that the way the developers are doing is they're signing a lease with the cattlemen. So when I tell folks we need to amend our broken Greenbelt laws, and we need to make sure those developers start paying for their fair share of taxes because it's falling on longtime residents, when you don't have the impact fees high enough, we're paying for the new infrastructure that you didn't pay for the first time. We would bring in millions of dollars, we would be able to have no property tax on homestead exemption, and we wouldn't have to raise our sales tax if we start looking for other ways of revenue. The other way I like for help no property tax is taxing the political committees. Millions of dollars in dark money bank accounts that go back and forth to run smear campaigns against grassroots candidates. We should be taxing that money because our money is being used to update those online systems, update those forms, and track that money. It all gets tracked to the Department of State. There's horrible deals going on in the state of Florida besides Greenbelt. You go up to Lithia Springs in Hillsborough County, it's a park. As a taxpayer, I have to pay $2 to get into that spring to see the park if I want to go to the playground or wherever. If I want to get into the spring, I have to pay another $2. Mosaic owns that property. Their tax bill on 116 acres is $900 a year. But here's the kicker, they don't pay that. Hillsborough County taxpayers do, because they're letting us use it for our park, and we have to pay to maintain their park. How many more bad deals like that are we going to find in Tallahassee where we can say, this is why we're not having no property tax on homestead exemption? You need to start taxing Mosaic, the developers, and everybody else that is coming in and just taking advantage of the state of Florida for a quick profit, and they're going to leave us with the problems. And if your state representatives don't sound like that, and they don't understand your problems, or your county commissioner doesn't understand the problems to Florida are as unique as the state. Find somebody else that knows the problems are unique, and it's nothing like the DC clown show up there. If they're trying to divide you with what's happening in DC, find another representative. If you can't find another representative, run for office yourself. It's so easy, even a welder can do it. Do you guys have any more questions for me or what have you? Yes, sir. The fellow just behind you first, and then you catch it.
Quick question on clemency. You said that, I guess, I get that you want to do our thing, but I'm just curious, what percentage of those would actually go Democrat versus Republican? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I think if a Republican was the one that said, hey, we need to go ahead and start getting more clemencies voted on, and we need to, because right now they're saying there's not enough funding to have more than 4 clemency votes. But it seems like politicians have slush funds everywhere, and if they wanted to give more people their rights back, they could. Think about how many new voters would come to the Republican Party of Florida if it was a Republican that said, hey, we need to start getting more clemencies voted on and give nonviolent offenders their rights back. If you did something like a decade ago, like I've worked with guys 30 years, they did something a long time ago that still don't have their rights back. And I said, well, why don't you apply for clemency? And they told me, it's a process, and by the time you get it through, they only do like 4 every year, and then nobody gets to vote on it.
So I moved back from California, I just feel like, I could be wrong on this, I don't know the data, that's why I didn't know, but I just feel like Democrats would use that to like just get 100,000 extra votes every year. I could be wrong with that.
Well, like I said, when I worked with the fella, his name was Jose, he was the best mechanic I ever worked with, and I asked him, he was the most honest. Like, you ask some of these guys, what did you go to jail for? And they'll say, it was never my fault. He was like, it was my fault. And he had a drug charge. And he bought a Snap-on toolbox. And this is the part of Jose I could never figure out. He would buy Snap-on tools, but he wouldn't buy a Snap-on toolbox. And I said, how are you buying the tools but not the toolbox? He said, well, I had the drug charge, and I had a pistol. And I knew I shouldn't have had a pistol, and I put it in my Snap-on toolbox because I was between jobs. And I locked it when I was on probation, and they came in and searched my house, and they found the pistol in the toolbox, and they said, that's your pistol. And he said, I don't know how it's got there, I just bought that box. Well, they ran the number on the back of the box, the serial number, and it came back to Jose, so they sent him to jail again. He goes, it was my fault. He said, but if it wasn't for Trump, I wouldn't be out of jail right now. He said that I owe it to Trump for being out of jail. And when the other folks said, why do you vote for Trump? He said, I don't care what he's done about anything else. I would still be sitting in a cell right now if he hadn't changed the laws back in, I think it was 2016, 2017. So the folks know, they understand, like the guys that have affected by this.
And I think you would get more voters to come to the Republican side if you acknowledge that people make mistakes, you haven't violated those mistakes, you haven't recommitted a crime in X amount of years, you should get your rights back.
Is there any way that we can stop Democrats from like, I'm sure you saw the videos by James O'Keefe where they just give them names, because my fear would be, you know, Democrats would have a list of names, and then they would just go down it, they would give homeless people these names to fill out and just get a bunch of extra votes every single year. I mean, I don't know, like I said, that's my fear whenever I hear.
Well, like I said, it's a vote on clemency, so you would be looking at each case, you know, for what have you. And I do see it would be whichever party was to give clemency to those individuals, you would get the trust of those individuals. Because at the end of the day, we all make mistakes. There was one guy that didn't, we nailed him to a cross. And when we start to recognize that people do make mistakes, we're not trying to let out like violent offenders if you murdered somebody or anything like that, or if you're a child predator, but like you sold dope when you were 16 years old or whatever, and now you're getting punished for it for your whole life. A lot of these guys, if you didn't know them, like when you worked like a crew with them or you worked alongside them, you would have no idea they had a criminal record, because they have turned their lives around.
One last question.
That fellow right there had one.
Yeah, I agree with 80 or 90% everything you're saying. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have a question about, you know, you're talking about agriculture, and you support it heavily, so do I. Why does it have to be, why does supporting agriculture in Florida and the success of it financially, why does it have to be mutually exclusive from data centers, AI data centers? Can't we do both? Can't we have both and bring in the income?
Well, the thing with data centers is they eat a lot of water,
Okay, well.
and then on the flip side of that, not only do they take in a lot of water, but they, on their cooling systems, they put chemicals in there for anti-corrosion chemicals,
But at the
fungicides.
expense of all that income, that there's no way to do this.
Well, the thing with data centers
Can't we
right
have
now,
that too?
the thing with data centers right now is like in Walton County and across the state, they're putting moratoriums on them until the technology either proves itself as a sustainable technology. Data centers may be irrelevant in 5-10 years. You're always going to need to eat. Farming is a billion-dollar industry in the state of Florida that is sustainable. It's constantly reoccurring. Where data centers, and maybe right now there is 120 data centers in the state of Florida, but they're not hyperscale. These hyperscale ones, where they're building 4,000 acres on our farmland and inside of our rural routes, it's if you build a data center that takes 250,000 gallons a day, you're competing with a farm. His well goes down.
You're not necessarily competing if it's a retired citrus farm.
Well, you got farmers ranchers, you have livestock, you have other farmers in that neighborhood, and not just the other farms in that neighborhood, but if you're in the rural routes from the data center, you have private wells that are dropping, and well water is being dropped basically. So until they prove this technology as it's for a long time, and not just, oh, we're gonna abandon it like malls, and you're gonna have a bunch of abandoned data centers, the technology, when they figure out, they're talking about putting them in space, China's putting them in the ocean. If we dry up all of our agriculture land in the state of Florida or across the United States and we become reliant on another nation to feed us, we are no longer the mighty United States of America. I don't agree with data centers right now building 4,000 acres in our rural routes is because my father was a baby boomer and he watched the American might of the United States be shipped off. He could never imagine when he was my age that they would shut Detroit down, that Pennsylvania wouldn't be putting out Pittsburgh steel. So when he watched the manufacturing just go overseas and go somewhere else, I see the same thing happening on our agriculture land because it's in Virginia, they're building data centers. It's Georgia, they're putting out urban sprawl all across the land, and they're drying up our agriculture land. And as they're bringing in Argentinian beef, and we're bringing tomatoes from all around the world and stuff, if we become reliant on somebody else to feed us, we can no longer be a mighty nation.
I agree with all the agriculture. It's like 150 years ago, they were against the railroads for the same thing. They were competing things. And guess what? The technology was there, but we figured it out.
And that's the problem right now is it's an emerging technology. Like out there in Utah, they were going to put one the size of Manhattan, and it was going to compete with water, and then they had to shrink it down. And when they shrunk it down, they're like, well, we don't want to build it now because we shrunk it down. And the thing with data centers is they're not being forthright with the public.
That's right.
Data centers are collecting just that data. And it could be flock cameras, but when you look at big tech, what is big
Data
tech?
centers, AI.
Well, what big
AI
tech sells you, big tech sells you advertisements if you're just scrolling on your phone. And then it sells your data to the advertisers to make sure that they know it pops up for you. So they need these big depositories for all of that data. Flock cameras needs all that stuff. And I think the data centers, number one, needs to be forthright, what they're for, what kind of data. A lot of people don't trust how they're trying to get NDAs and they're trying to exempt themselves from public record. And a lot of folks don't agree with AI being used on flock cameras. There's a guy that's suing Florida sheriffs right now because facial recognition from AI sent him to prison when it shouldn't have. So I see all these problems mounting with AI data centers, and I also see our farms disappearing, and I see grocery store prices raising. And the only way to lower the price at the grocery store and help our farmers out is to give them a way to sell directly to the consumer. The consumer benefits from that, the farmer benefits from that, and it's a win-win for everybody. Where data centers, it's only a win for big tech.
That's right. I agree with you.
You got any more? You need.
I need my house back and it's getting hot. Ladies and gentlemen, what you saw was a man answering difficult questions, stood up and answered them all. He also talked to us in a language that we could all understand. So please give him a large round of applause. That's right. So that's all we've got time for today. I appreciate you all coming out. It was a real honor to have you come out here and make the journey on a Saturday afternoon. We've got the World Cup on the TV, and we got the political season, and I'm so proud of being an American citizen, being here, having the opportunity to engage with all you guys. God bless and God bless America. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not done now, man. I'm not done, bud.